Hidden Object Guru here, joined by...
The Gun Wrangler.
Here to just talk some Man in the High Castle and recommend some underserved TV shows. I sent the wrong episode of Wise Guy last week, so we're going to have to hold off on talking about the next 3 episodes of that. Sorry, but if I am Canadian, so I have to be able to say sorry at least once per episode. I think that is famously part of the deal. But yes, we watched more Men in the High Castle, episodes 5 through 8, and whew, this show sure moves in a hurry, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised at how quickly we're getting in. 6 through 8, and we're really getting right into it.
Yeah, because part of the issue is, the first couple of episodes, basically not a lot happened.
No, it is a lot of getting everybody, to the right, the characters to the right place,
Yes.
even if it's not particularly concerned with a lot of heavy plot momentum. And I did complain about that when we talked about the pilot.
Yep.
But yeah, it got moving pretty fast, and I really do appreciate that.
Once everyone's at the right spot, it gets moving.
Oh my god, and which actually brings me to the first thing I want to talk about. Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa, your character. We get little pieces of his backstory this time, which is nice. We got the stuff about his wife. We get the stuff about his the garden. As just the garden, which I know gardens are always a metaphor in television, and it's very obviously here, like literally, and it's right there. The only if you weren't clear what the metaphor was, literally all you have to do to make something grow is pay attention to it. Like just always water it. Just pay attention to it. If you don't ignore if you ignore things, they go bad. It's a nice, simple message there, because gardens are always metaphors.
Yes, it's true.
Gardens are always metaphors, and this one is exceptionally clear, but it's a nice glimpse into his home life, and I really enjoyed that scene. And honestly, he's just doing a great job, the actor is.
Yeah,
because...
I mean, everyone likes Japanese Javert.
And by the way, there is, I like that there is no less, how do I put this? I'm not going to call it passive-aggressive, but, for someone who lives in Ottawa, there is nothing that borders more on that than pronouncing the name Javert.
Yeah.
I'm not saying people here are too sensitive about French, but oof, Javert.
They're more sensitive than people in Quebec are. Let's put it like that.
That's true. I'm not going to debate that point.
Thanks, Trudeau.
I get it. It's supposed to be the thing.
Yeah.
I didn't get that until just this second. We're supposed to be in the thing. That's cool. Way to go, gang. I'll go put all of these corpse parts away. Nice.
Okay.
I think there's too much foliage for it to really be the thing, but there you go. Yes, so he's good, and we get a wonderful glimpse into his humanity, and in that he sends her out to, I gotta say, I don't want to say their work ethic is lacking, but one of the most half-assed mass graves I've ever seen. I mean...
It's not like even a mass grave, it's like...
They just dropped a bunch of bodies in a pile.
Yeah.
They only did the barest minimum of digging a hole at all. And I'm like, come on, guys. You can do better than this. They really half-assed it. And come on, Japan, come on, Japanese Imperial occupation force. You're supposed to be the kings of this stuff. So yeah, I was not impressed with that. But we get the sister's body, confirming that she's dead, raising a big question about how she saw her earlier in the episode. Quite big question, in fact.
Yeah.
So, her sister from another dimension, or is she just having a vision?
I'm not saying
You're not going to
anything.
tell me, obviously. I didn't. But I'm saying those are the two most obvious options. I don't know which is true, but I am interested to find out as we go forward. And I assume this is going to come up again.
Yeah.
And, oof. We did a lot with her stepfather, though, that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Because they really do enter the whole, why do you collaborate in a situation like this? And you have this situation where you have to believe that there are people out there who honestly thought it was the best thing for their family.
Well, there's been a lot of studies about this and discussion, specifically in the aftermath of World War II in France, because
Of course. Lots of collaborators there. Yeah.
Lots of collaborators. Very few of them came out. You know, they sort of realized after the fact, they're like, maybe we should have asked these guys questions before dragging them to the river and shooting them.
Jesus. It's true. They did execute a lot of them right away.
In the
poor
first
Vichy
3
government.
days, it was something like 35,000 people.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, just everyone with a badge went down.
Well,
And
it was one of those things where I was reading about this in the ghettos too, because you need police,
Yeah.
but police are the enforcement arm of the occupying force,
Yep.
and so they're kind of stuck. They're like, well, we can't just let crime happen
Yeah.
because it's victimizing these people, but the occupiers are victimizing these people.
Yeah.
So where is
Because
that?
there are always criminal syndicates working contraband, doing scummy things, trying
like
to.
the Yakuza?
Yeah. Well,
In
yeah,
this
like the
episode?
Yakuza
Yeah.
in this episode, in this group of episodes. Like, there's always these bad guys out there, and so you want to, if you're a good law enforcement officer and you want to protect people, how can you protect people from street crime, but not protect them from the occupying force?
Yeah.
Like, it's this impossible catch-22 they were stuck in, where, as you say, people who were trying to do the right thing in the context they were allowed, that was allowed to them, ended up getting executed because they had still cashed paychecks from the Vichy government.
Well, that's
And-
just it. And it applied to a lot of people, whether, you were a cop or a civil servant. Like,
Yeah. You're
de
just someone who
Gaulle
did
really didn't
paperwork.
care if you were working at the DMV.
Yeah. And it is kind of fascinating because you're like, well, why didn't they just rise up? And it's like, well, look at
Because
what happened in Warsaw when they rose up.
that
Everybody
was
got
my exact
killed.
example. It's like,
Yeah. They sent in penal brigades and just killed everybody. Yeah, it's like, it's weird because they were punishing people for for doing their best to survive in a bad situation.
Yeah.
Do you know where the burner is in this level? I haven't.
yeah, it's right over there where that enormous fire is.
Oh,
that
did we
way.
just? Oh, okay. I just missed that somehow. For some reason, I saw a fire over there, and I thought it was like not a campfire per se, but something like a campfire. So yeah, I have to imagine this show is the kind of thing that could explore that if it ends up going that long and moving in that direction. I can't say for sure.
Third season is coming out in, I believe, October.
Okay, and then don't tell me anything about third season, because don't want to know. But thank you for reminding me that, yeah, all of my questions will be answered.
Yes.
All right.
I find this, the collaborator thing was... What?
I will say this. It's always frustrating knocking over a bucket, but at least it doesn't put so much water that, like, it doesn't put all of the blood back on the ground or something crazy like that.
Yeah,
So
that'd
that
be
is
a huge
nice.
pain.
That would be the worst.
Yeah, so,
the
like,
collaborator stuff is
collaborator-
very interesting, because it's like, nothing good's going to happen to her stepfather down the line, but...
Yeah.
And he has the horrific guilt of having caused his stepdaughter's death, so that's not great. But yeah, like, at the same time, he does make a solid case for where he's coming from. Like,
Oh yeah,
I don't-
because he's sitting there and he's, it's better that a few dissidents die, then the Germans just be like, you know what? Baltimore's been problematic. Let's just get rid of Baltimore.
Oh, that is how the Nazis operate.
Yes, and he knows it, and he's stuck in this impossible situation.
Yeah.
And
Well, my question is, and this is, does it ever get mentioned that there's basically, on the show, because it hasn't come up yet, and it came up in the book a few times, that there's basically no Africa left?
it's mentioned that there's African campaigns ongoing.
Oh, okay. Because by the time the book happens, like, Africa's just gone. That's where they continued doing all of their testing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whether it was drug testing or nuclear testing or whatever.
Well, it also drained the Mediterranean in the book, so...
Yeah. They literally just use Africa to be their experimental ground, and there's not much of a continent left as a consequence. So it's weird, but yeah, I'm sure they have their reasons for that, and I'm sure it's going somewhere interesting, because the show has been generally. Oh wait, found a memory key. I'll just put that over here until I find the blue. You know what, I won't put it there, because it blends in exactly with the... I better just find the...
It's right over here.
Okay.
So...
I love that over here suggests that there's some way for me to know where you are in the game.
You can always
which
look at...
there isn't.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying that, wow, yeah, the client-side physics are not fantastic.
Yeah.
I tried putting it in the thing, and it flew up into the air. But yes, there's a lot of interesting stuff about that in there, and I'm sad that they're not doing the same point about Africa, but, you know, I don't exactly know what kind of campaign there would still be 20 years, well, not 20 years, but almost 20 years after the war. Like, come on, guys.
Like, expansion.
Yeah.
Like, they're just conquering the place.
Yeah.
'Cause-
I feel like that already should have been taken care of, though. One thing we got this week, though, was and this I don't remember if this is from the book, because it actually seems a little simplistic. We got an explanation for how their world's divergence point this week in these 3 episodes. So
Yeah.
that was nice. Which is there was no Roosevelt. No President Roosevelt means the Nazis win the war is the message of the show. Which, yeah, that's not a bad... If you're going to pick a divergence point, that's not a bad one.
Well, there's a couple of other ones, like Reinhardt.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, but that all stems out from the main one, which is no Roosevelt. And we can assume that if Roosevelt wasn't alive, there's no robust support being sent to England, right? And if there's no robust support... if there's no robust support being sent to England, they're not able to pull off the kind of special ops missions in the early 40s, like the ones that killed Heydrich, right?
No, Heydrich was whacked in 42.
Yeah, 42.
I believe, the Czechs.
No, the Czechs with support from the SAS.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of SAS officers. So that's the thing. If Britain's having a worse time without American help, which you got to assume, I don't remember the name of the... well, I don't know. And that's the weird part. Roosevelt dies. You don't know if Truman ever even becomes president, but... because Truman wasn't his first vice president. Truman was a replacement vice president later on.
Yeah.
After the New Deal had already started. So who the hell knows who's president? Maybe it was Truman, maybe it's somebody else. But the point is, they don't send support to England. England doesn't help the Czechs kill Reinhard Heydrich. And Heydrich's there to make everything worse throughout Europe. Right? So, that, like, to be the wonderful, monstrous arm of the Nazi regime, which is what he was. He's pretty fantastic. He's a pretty fantastic performance of Heydrich in this episode, too.
I know. Like, it's all around good performances. I also did, like, stuff like the whole Sun subplot.
Yes. Oh my god. Oof.
Yeah.
That was a rough one. Jesus Christ. It's like, yeah, I mean, but, like... Well, I mean, you knew this character had to be tested at some point. And he wasn't tested by having to turn in his best friend from the war days. But he's getting tested now. Oof. I'd say that poor guy, but he's a terrible human being.
He's arguably a terrible human being.
Yeah. I don't know how arguable it is.
In terms of, you know, what we've seen of the other Nazis, there's no shortage of
That's true.
worse people, let's put it.
You're right. It's like drawing a line to who's the worst would be kind of ridiculous. One thing that really got me was, so for the first few episodes, for last week, I didn't talk about this last week. Weirdest thing. I remembered that, in our talking about Wise Guy and the idea of there being mountain bandits out there, I remembered that they tried to do a TV show of the Aurelio Zen novels, and, Oberstgruppenführer John Smith was who played him in the TV movies.
Huh.
So what an amazing coincidence that came up. But yeah. But last week, I was going to ask you, and I figured it was going somewhere, so I didn't bring it up, but now I'll admit that I didn't trust the show, and I should have. I was going to ask you about the strange framing of the mole hunt in the Gestapo headquarters, because they're, like, the rest of the show is following people that we care about, or people who really touch on who we care about, and then we've got this mole hunt storyline inside the Gestapo headquarters, for which Smith is our protagonist. And I'm like, is the show really expecting me to get on board with him and care about whether or not he finds this mole? And, of course, I'm more inclined not to, because, honestly...
He's a terrible person, yeah.
Yeah, he's a terrible person. Who cares if his information is getting leaked and he's getting shot? But I should have trusted the show, because now we get his backstory, and now we get the stuff with his son, and it's like, okay, you're giving me a reason to get involved in this character's life, so I get what you were doing. I think it's... And you had to do the mole hunt stuff first, right? Because you want us to be skeptical about him and his goals and what the show is doing before you start humanizing with all the stuff about his genetically inferior son.
Yeah. Well, there's also a lot of payoff in the second season.
Really? Okay. Without spoiling anything, all I'm
going to say is there's payoff for the mole hunt and for, what's his face infiltrating the resistance, such as it is.
Yeah. Actually, one problem I have with the resistance storyline is they're going to get a film. The Yakuza steals the film, and then they need $100,000 to get the film. 100 Reichsmarks. Right? And the one problem I had with that series of scenes that I didn't believe from the resistance is, so they don't trust Joe because they shouldn't trust Joe. They don't know Joe, right? Like, they're not on board with him. And I understand desperate times, desperate measures, they need the money, 100%. What I don't believe is that both of the resistance people would go to meet Joe.
No.
Like, Joe's already seen one of the resistance people. If Joe's a bad guy, which Joe is, he already knows that he's compromised, so it's okay that he goes to see Joe. But the idea that the lady goes as well makes zero sense to me. Like, I don't believe anybody would be stupid enough to do that.
I have to say, from what we've seen of the American resistance,
they do make a lot of mistakes. Okay.
Their counterpart prime
level
of
bad at this kind of counterintelligence stuff. Okay.
I've been watching Counterpart with a friend, actually, rewatching it.
Yeah.
And his comments were exactly the same. He's like, these guys are just awful at their jobs.
They're so bad at their jobs.
Like
basic spycraft. Basic record keeping.
Well, there's that. What about stuff like, oh, hey, when you're staking something out, lock the car doors.
Lock the doors in your car! Also, if you're trying to catch someone coming to a location, don't look at the location. Look at the approaches to the location. Like, remember what you're here to do, guy. God. Oh my God, Counterpart. We love you, but come on.
We love you, but yeah. I'm pretty sure this is just framing the narrative in the same sense as you would like any show about the Cold War has to mention that the Americans were just terrible at their jobs, and how the Soviet turns out McCarthy was right all along, and there were Soviets every fucking where.
Well, McCarthy wasn't right at all.
About Soviets being everywhere?
No, not about Soviets being everywhere. About looking for Soviets in unions and Hollywood. He seemed to be living under this crazy idea that everyone who had leftist sympathies, that's how we're going to catch the Soviets. But of course, no, you would catch the Soviets by figuring out who the Soviets would likely talk to and looking to see which, seemingly loyal members of the government were talking to them. The people to worry about are not the one with open leftist sympathies. And that's
I think that's where you're taking this wrong. The Soviets were after not the government. I mean, that's just a happy bonus, but at the time they were going after culture. They saw this as an intergenerational conflict that was going to be there for the next 100, 200 years. So they started targeting professors, filmmakers.
Yes, and those people remained not a threat. The threat were the spies who had infiltrated the actual mechanisms of government, who were there and who were selling the secrets. But his idea of, battling a culture war kept the eyes off of the actual problem, the people who were burning spies throughout Eastern Europe. Guess
I
what?
have to say that maybe
the Hollywood 7 didn't have anything to do with that.
I'll give you that, but I have to say, it turns out he was 75% right about people who were getting money from the Soviets.
Oh my God. Alright, so, what the hell just happened? Something weird just happened. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into the alien's grave so I can start sweeping it. Okay, let's take the body pieces out before I start mopping.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because it's come on, guys, how are you not better at this? But then you get the John Smith episode, and once again, completely inappropriate music choice. And I'm I don't know how the show keeps making this mistake. So, as I pointed out last time, the idea that there would be copies of Strange Fruit hanging out in the neutral zone seems incredibly far-fetched.
Well, you do realize that the opening song, that nice little Austrian...
Edelweiss, yeah.
It's from The Sound of Music.
Yeah, I know. No, it's the Nazi song from The Sound of Music.
It's written... It's The Sound of Music.
Oh, yeah. So, no, I'm familiar with Edelweiss and the significance of Edelweiss, but what bothered me here was, so in the previous episode, I'm I find it hard to believe that Strange Fruit would survive, but, they really like the song, they want to use it, and it is the neutral zone, so you I think it's a stretch, but you give it to them. Yeah. This episode, we go to John Smith's house, and Mac the Knife is playing on the record player.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
That's Jew music. It is from a musical written by a famous team-up of a Jew and a communist who had to flee Nazi Germany, where they did all of their early work. They did all of their work in Germany. Then the Nazis showed up, and they had to flee to avoid being executed. And I'm yeah, I don't think the head Nazi of New York has that album in his house.
True.
There's just no way.
I don't know. And I do like their taste in music is good. It's just it stretches the limits of believability.
But not only does it stretch the limits of believability, it actually hurts it hurts one of the themes of the book and the criticisms of all fascist societies, which is there's no such thing as fascist culture. There's no such thing as fascist art. Art is always accused of being, a corrupting influence that takes your attention away from serving the country, which is what you're supposed to be doing. Fascists love sport and they hate art. So the very idea, and that's something that comes up in the book. That it's not like there's fascist movies that people love. It's not like they don't like fiction, they don't like music, they don't like plays, they like sports, and they like documentaries about how awesome they are.
I know, which is why Antifa always attacks cartoonists, artists, TV shows.
Okay, now you're just talking crazy.
No,
but
Antifa
really
are the new fascists. Oh, that's oh no.
Oh my God.
There was a body attached to the roof by a thing, and I made an enormous mess when I brought it down.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty crazy thing to do, but it's okay. I'll let you believe your crazy thing. Don't worry. No, but the fact is, there aren't any fascist artists. You look at the modern Trump guys, and there's no meaningful art, or really any art at all coming out of them. These people aren't
Because Trump's not a fascist?
Of course,
totalitarian. I'd be willing to believe.
Okay, first off, of course Trump is a fascist. I'll just get you Umberto Eco's book, and you can just read Umberto Eco's book about what fascism is, and it's oh, okay, well, he's just describing Donald Trump.
Fascism as described by a communist. Yeah.
Okay, first off, Umberto Eco, not a communist. Second, Umberto Eco, one of the smartest men of the 20th century. Trying to criticize Umberto Eco's ability to analyze things. That would not get you anywhere practical, trust me. He's one of the greatest intellectuals of the 20th and 21st century, and probably, top 5 or 10 best writers of that period as well. Just an amazing guy in every event. But yeah, trying to say, oh, well, he's Italian and he was big in the 70s, 80s, so he's got to be a communist, is an incredibly reductive way of talking about and I'm not saying communists weren't a big problem in Italy at that time. I'm not delusional. You're absolutely right, they were.
I was going to point that one out.
No, I'm not crazy. Every frigging week, the Red Brigade was blowing up something in Italy.
Or kidnapping someone, or murdering
someone, or murdering something for 30 years. I'm not denying that. I'm saying Umberto Eco cannot, because he was a Italian intellectual, does not immediately fall into that category. But the point is, yes.
He might have been just some sort of neo-Marxist. Who knows?
But the fact is, yes, Donald Trump is a fascist because he ticks off all of the all of the things. And now, for the love of God, he's now talking about jailing people who speak out against. It's you put a crazy reality show lady in your cabinet, and now she left and she's talking about against you, and you're threatening to jail her. So yeah, that's police state fascist nonsense. But anyway. I just don't believe, to get back to where we were, the idea that music, right, would still exist is ridiculous. And one of the things I liked in the book was the reference that all of the artists had fled to Canada, right? And that Americans still had this, lust for art and comedy and things, and it's they were getting it all in radio broadcasts coming across the border that you can only get in the north half of the country.
I don't know. It's something that's definitely a nod of the head to Samizdat and Radio Free America and all of that, and I appreciate that because it was contemporaneous. Mm-hmm. But the Nazis would have just steamrolled Canada in the first 20 minutes of the war once it landed on North American shores.
I don't know that they would have, simply because they had some kind of an agreement. I think Canada is so big that it's just a hassle to take it over, and it's not really a threat. So I can believe that Canada would just kind of be there, and not really being anything but a minor annoyance. You know, because it's not like Canada doesn't fit all of their... Canada generally fits all of their criteria for... what do you call it? For racial purity, generally. Like, it's all just Scots and Germans and Norwegians here. So I think that would fit nicely into their criteria. It's interesting because seeing Reinhard Heydrich show up, because and it's not really a point they're making, but one of the fun facts about the Nazi High Command was that every single one of them was kind of a squat, pudgy dude with or like a really spindly dude. None of them were physically fit. None of them were blonde. None of them fit any kind of Aryan ideal. Like, geez, look at Goebbels. You know, look at Himmler. All right, these are not guys who fit the ideal of what they say racial purity is, and the only one of them that did was Reinhard Heydrich. And to the guy who wasn't really part of the High Command, also, I'm blanking on his name, the architect?
Spears.
Yeah, Speer. Rudolf Speer?
Rudolf
Rudolf Speer. Yeah, he's the only, but he was never really part of the High Command. It's just when everybody else was dead towards the end of the war, he got in charge of, like, the factories. But he was not, like, inner circle Nazi guy. Yeah, but Speer and Heydrich were the only ones who looked like the Nazi ideal. And Speer was never that into it, and of course, Heydrich got killed relatively early into the war, so you were just left with all of these genetic inferiors running things by their own
I know that
standards.
some of them, they were all, like, World War I veterans. I know Goring, that fat fuck.
Hermann Goering, yeah.
Yeah, he, the reason why he was fat is because he broke both of his legs multiple times, or he fucked up his back somehow.
In the war?
Well,
oh my god.
Yeah, in the war. So
he could get zero exercise.
And like, the guy was a massive opium junkie.
Oh my god.
Massive.
I'm not surprised.
Well, you can also see there's historic footage. Hitler was basically, you can see him. He had the mess shakes in like 1932 during the Olympics.
Yeah. Oh, they
So
were
all
all
these
on
guys
meth
were just-
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amphetamines and cocaine were a huge thing that kept everybody going.
Yep.
It's one of the most fascinating parts of it. Is like the amount of the time all of these guys had
We're just
like
fucked.
they believed strongly in better living through chemistry. Like they thought all of these scientific endeavors were going to make every part of their lives better and help them conquer the world. But you got these guys who were just crazy high all the time, believing their own insane ideas.
Well, it's not unique to Nazi Germany because we
Of
had
course not.
Benzedrine in the States, and
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there was no shortage of meth in the States either.
yes.
You know, what do you call it? Like, hell, it's how did speed ever stop being a part of what the trucker's toolkit?
How about this? The speed, Benzedrine,
Yeah.
only really stopped being a thing in like the late 60s.
Well,
And people are like, oh, this is basically a big old mitt of prescription methamphetamine.
no. Well, my favorite story, right, about baseball is basically the idea that they had to give up steroids, or at least be smart about steroids, so that people wouldn't look into meth. Because, and this is true, basically from the 40s on, every baseball player has been on speed all of the time.
I can believe it.
And the fact is, right, they called them greenies. They were just, amphetamines. And all the baseball players, and that's one of the reasons they chew tobacco, to keep themselves from grinding their teeth while they're on speed. That's a fun fact. But here's all you need to know about the proof that they were all on speed all the time. There's this book about it that I will try to find the title to. I only read the New Yorker article that was like a 30-page excerpt from the book, so I didn't actually buy the book, so I don't know the whole story. But the case was laid out pretty clearly that it's essentially impossible to hit a fastball if you're not on speed.
Yeah, if there isn't some level of, shall we say,
chemical enhancement.
Yes.
To your reflexes. You can't do it. And the proof they offered was basically in the history of baseball, there had been as a rule, every 10 or 12 years, there was a no-hitter, right? A pitcher threw a no-hitter. And it was like this giant, amazing thing that almost never happened, and people were blown away by it. And so during the aftermath of the during the aftermath of the steroid thing, they said, okay, we're going to be serious about not having players on drugs. We're going to drug test everybody. And they made the players stop taking speed. And if you look at the records of the amount of no-hitters in the history of baseball, basically it's like every 8 to 12 years, there's a no-hitter. Then starting in the very end of the 90s through the mid-2000s, it's like no-hitter after no-hitter after no-hitter. It happened a couple of times a season suddenly because the players weren't on speed. And then they couldn't go back to taking speed because, drugs, politics, all of that. In an amazing coincidence, every baseball player started getting diagnosed with ADHD and being prescribed Ritalin. Because, spoiler alert, Ritalin is just speed.
Yeah, it is.
And if you don't have ADHD and you take it, it has the exact same effect as speed. So, and now...
It doesn't have the exact same
Not the
effect
exact
as
same,
speed.
but close enough. It gives them the focus necessary to hit fastballs, and that's all they wanted. So now, we went from guys who were just on speed all the time and chewing tobacco to keep themselves from grinding their teeth to guys who suddenly couldn't hit long balls anymore. Like, there's a massive drop down in the number of hits and in the number of home runs, which is what people want to see. And now we got a huge number of people who suddenly all ADHD, and they can hit balls again.
Yeah, because they're taking 55 amps or something.
Yeah, they're all on speed again. But it's like there was this almost 10-year period where baseball was kind of sucking because people stopped taking speed, and it turned out speed had been what allowed baseball to be played for 70 years. Yeah, all in the aftermath of the Second World War.
Speaking of culture, did you notice the little nods of the head to contemporary American shows in the series?
Really? Where?
There's SS Dragnet.
Oh, no, we talked about SS Dragnet last week.
Yeah.
I just didn't see any others.
Now there's like Hollywood Squares and I think one other.
Oh, right! I didn't realize that was supposed to be Hollywood Squares, but
Yeah,
of
it's
course
supposed
it
to be-
is. Right, and what do they call the show What's My Line, but they call it something else.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Right, yes.
See?
Yeah, you're right. They do, yeah. Yeah, so they do have the nods, because I caught Hollywood Dragnet, but I didn't really, until you mentioned it now, didn't really notice what they were doing with the other ones. So yeah, I think the episode's set on, and I mean, this is obvious. I don't believe the Nazis would have called it Victory in, VA Day, Victory in America Day.
Yeah.
I don't believe they would have called that. I think they would have called it Liberation Day or something like that. Because part of the whole point of brainwashing is to remind people, that you're a liberator, right? And the thing is, we call it VA Day and VJ Day because in America, beating Nazis and beating Japan were the messages there. But America wasn't planning to stay. It was just their victory. But if you were taking over a country, you don't say, this is the day we beat you in a war.
Yeah.
You know, you say this is the day, you call it Liberation Day or Confederation Day, or just some name of, like, the day when the new glorious American Reich started.
Yeah,
Right?
when things stop being shitty for you Americans, I guess.
Exactly. And something they didn't mention, which they really should have, was that if Roosevelt had died, and there's no there's no New Deal, there's no jobs for anybody, like, America wouldn't have been in a financial and economic position to fight the Second World War, and that would have helped the Nazis win. And it's very possible, and they've hinted at this, but they haven't really gotten into it. No Roosevelt, no New Deal, no jobs for anybody. That gives you more of a reason to be okay with the Nazis coming in and guaranteeing full employment.
Yeah, because, you know, everyone likes eating and owning
Exactly.
things, except for communists.
But that's the thing. Nothing about the New Deal was suggested you couldn't own things. But anyway,
No, I just meant that.
Oh, you're just saying the
state
comments,
when
okay.
you eat and when
Yeah.
you own things.
Well, no, and that's the thing. It's like that's why in the New Deal the thing was just give everybody a job, like, and then let the market figure out how to spread that money around. Like they employed people, yes, to build public housing as well, but people paid rent on those houses. They didn't just give them a thing. They gave them a job to build the housing, and then they let them pay rent for those houses. Like that's how you build a capitalist system, and that's how you build a free market system. And the thing was, the people against Roosevelt at the time, including his own vice president, didn't think the government should be doing any of that. Didn't think that the government should be building anything. They're like, the market will figure this one out. And it probably wouldn't have. And people would have been like eating shoe leather by the time the Nazis rolled in, which would have given people a great big motivation to sign up with the Nazis. And I think that's something the show could touch on a little more, that, like, it's possible that in a world without Roosevelt, without a New Deal, Nazis and Japanese taking over America would have been a massive improvement in people's life conditions.
I think it's subtly suggested because if you remember, in the 60s in California,
Yeah.
not a good time for anyone.
Yeah,
Lots
whereas
of
here
crime.
It's pretty prosperous. Yeah, here
Like,
it is quite prosperous.
Like the crime and the terrorism, just generally not great. So if you have like this super strict Japanese army basically being like, okay,
Yeah.
if you're causing trouble, we'll kill you and your family. A lot of people in California at the time would have been like, I'm okay with this.
I don't know if I would say a lot, but I do see where you're coming from. I sincerely doubt it would be a lot. But I do see where you're coming from. I just think that if they hit more of the terrible economic state America was in before the invasion, you would understand better why so many people are willing to sign up for the Nazis and for the Japanese Imperial forces. That's just one thing you can do, because they mention Roosevelt having gotten shot in the assassination just in passing, so we can say, oh, okay, so that was the point of divergence, right? That like in a post, like right around the inauguration, I think it was assassination attempt in like 33.
Yeah, 33 or 34.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Right? That's
You can just pile those, by the way.
Oh, I can pile those?
Yeah, you can see.
Because I saw you put the
orange line right here.
As long as you
There's-
get stuff inside the orange line, it counts as put away.
Yeah.
I will remember that for the future. I thought I had to burn everything. Maybe that's why my rating always sucks.
Yeah.
And one thing, though, I really did enjoy the episode set on VA Day, but I can't believe how bad everyone is at being a spy. Like his friend is, I mean, maybe he figures, I'm just staying away from that thing. Maybe he figures Smith is on to him right from the start, but he's so bad at pretending to be on board with the Nazi agenda.
Yeah.
Like, he really is. He's so bad at it. He can't pretend for a second. Like, come on, guy. Like, your life's on the line here.
Yeah, just put in a little bit of effort.
Put in just put in a bit of effort is all I'm asking. Like, maybe just pretend a little, but it's like he's so bad at, not appearing to be evil. Well, I was going to say evil, which is a bad way to take it, but not appearing to be incredibly suspicious. It's like you're so obviously up to something that it's killing me, buddy. So yeah, that did bother me. But yeah, and then of course we had all the stuff with Yakuza, which, I mean, I'm not even going to comment on because we have no idea where it's going until this week.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be.
There's a pile for those barrels, by the way.
I saw it earlier. Yeah. So I don't. I have no idea where any of that stuff is going, so I'm not going to pretend I do. They get picked up. The Yakuza betrays them to the government. The government comes to get them. They get ushered away by some people in a car. It's a cliffhanger. I'm not going to predict it. Don't know who those people are. Can't wait to find out next week. Maybe there's a Japanese resistance. Who the hell knows? But I'm interested to see where it goes. And also, one thing that hurt the show a little, and it's not a big problem, but it does hurt the show a little, is the compressed timeline. Because based on the show, like, Frink's storyline, again, the timeline isn't really making sense to me, because the Chilvan finds out about the guy's obsession with the Old West, and literally the next day, he's like, "Hey, Frink, want to fake this thing for me?"
Yeah.
Right? And Frink's like, "Yes, I will do that." And then, literally, one more day, he's got the faked thing. And I'm like, yeah, you're accelerating the timeline a little too much here, guys.
Your role.
Like, I know you have to compress things, but there's no way. There's just no way. And one problem, and it's not a big problem, I have no idea how much 100,000 yen is in that world. They're like, we'll get 100,000 yen for this Sitting Bull necklace, right? And, for the Sitting Bull necklace. And I'm like, great! How much is 100,000 yen in this world?
What's the exchange rate here for Reichsmarks?
Exactly, like, with Reichsmarks, maybe they're just are they one and the same? Because we get the sense that 100,000 Reichsmarks is a bunch of money to the Yakuza. Right? And we get and so I guess we can assume that yen is a 1-to-1 translation? Maybe? Because both of them act like 100,000 is a lot of money, but you neglected to do the world building of just have us, in passing, show us what a car costs in a car dealership.
Yeah.
Because if you show us what a car costs, well, I know that in the 1960s, a $3,000 car is a lot of money. Right? So, as a consequence, I guess $100,000 was a really lot of money back in the 1960s. And because the show neglected to do that, I don't know how much a Reichsmark is worth. I don't know how much a yen is worth, and they're not showing us people doing regular day-to-day life things, so that's a problem. It's not a big problem, but it is a problem where you're just not doing quite enough world building there, guy. Again, not a big problem. I don't have any major complaints about this show, as I think I've said. But it's like, there's a couple of errors with world building that I really think they could be doing a lot better. Oh, cool. They got portable lights. Nice. So yeah, really good episodes, though. Like, really moved quickly. Got us into some very scary places very quickly. Joe's a scumbag who's trying to cheat on his girlfriend, but we knew Joe wasn't a great guy already, so that's not.
Well, with
being
surprise. The Nazi spy.
Yeah, being a Nazi spy, just being a kind of a trashy person generally. John doesn't trust him either, because of course,
Nazi spy.
Nazi spy, and it seems like if
even other Nazis hate Nazi spies.
Well, no, but I mean, it's like, dude, if you guys had just killed the marshal, there's a good chance. There's a good chance they wouldn't find out, Joe. They wouldn't have found out how bad you are at your job.
Yep.
But that's another conversation. Although you did fail to bring the film back, so you were always going to be taking a bit of a hit when you got home. Yes. Joe, you're kind of the worst, and I can't wait to see where your character goes from here. Okay, so that was this week in Man in the High Castle. Will we ever get to meet the Man in the High Castle? Are they going to save that for episode 10, or save that for another season? I'm interested to see. Don't tell me. I'm not actually asking you to tell me.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just
It's a rhetorical question.
It is just a rhetorical question. Are we ever going to get to him? I hope so. I specifically have not gone to the IMDb page to see who is cast in the show because I don't want to know. So yes, is there can you think of a quiz for this week's episodes, or are you going to be deferring?
Think on it a second. Should we do something a little bit more World War II related, or should
I was
we
thinking
ask
World War II related logically, but what was your other pitch?
what is the last American TV show that is referenced in Man in the High Castle?
Oh, good. Okay. So the most recent one in the episodes we watched.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah,
That's my favorite song from the Wolfenstein 2 soundtrack.
Bravo.
Which is also, by the way, fantastic. Even though I still have I'm still pretty convinced that it's all a fantasy in Max's head.
Yes, you're probably wrong about that, given that there are sequels about, there are spin-offs now about other characters in that world. And the game is not focused on BJ anymore, so no, you're almost certainly wrong about that one. It's a great headcanon.
Do you think he wouldn't want to? Do you think Max wouldn't make up more stories?
I do think that. I do think that he would not. No. Anyway, let's go get our rating to see how we did on this level, because I think we did pretty okay. I'm interested to see. Obviously, we're going to get fired again, but I think we did pretty well. We cleaned the top of the boxes. We put in new kits, medical kits. I'm pretty happy with our performance. What?
Oh.
That's the first time that's ever happened! That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Wow. Gaze up the wall in front of you, smugly between attempts to best your room high score level 13. Oh wow, that's fantastic. Alright, so yeah, what was the reference? We will be back next week with the season enders of Man in the High Castle season 1 and the first episode of season 2, because I'm not waiting around. I've made that very clear. I am not waiting around. I'm going to read that. I'm going to start that second episode immediately. Sorry, the second season, first episode immediately. We'll also be back for reals this time with Wise Guy 105 to 107. So enjoy that as well. Is there anything you'd like to recommend people before we head out?
Popstar.
Popstar.
Never
The
stop,
Andy
never
Samberg
stopping.
Never stop, never stopping.
It is pretty hilarious. It's pretty good take.
Hilarious. Okay.
It's pretty good
All
shit
right.
take on modern pop culture.
Okay. That it sounds like a lot of fun. I like Lonely Island generally, but I didn't like their previous movie Hot Rod, so I hope I will prefer this one.
You will. Take my word on it. It has Seal.
Okay, I do really like Seal. Alright, so yeah, that should be good. And I assume Michael Bolton shows up at some point, because
Yes.
obviously. Why would they do this without Michael Bolton? It would be crazy.
Exhibit, The RZA, DJ Khaled, Snoop Dogg.
Oh, okay, so it's totally just loaded with everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I like to hear. Oh my god, this place is a mess. There's just the, it essentially looks like the janitor's box exploded at some point. I don't know if it looks like that
that's
in your
exactly what
game.
happened.
Oh, okay. Alright, so yeah, check that out. For my end of things, I'm gonna, once again, I've almost finished Phantom doctrine, and I just want to recommend it again. It's really interesting. I'm very interested to see where the story goes, because I've just reached the part where a global cabal is trying to generate an airline tragedy so that they can force the world to accept starting to use GPS in navigation.
That's so bizarre.
And I'm like, where's this going? Because we did all start using GPS in navigation. What could they want with that? Because it's not like they're the corporation that owns GPS and they're trying to turn a profit. It's to a greater end. But I'm very interested to find out what that end is. And I'm not going to spoil it. But I just want to say, if you like XCOM, if you like Cold War spying, this is 100% absolutely the game for you. And when I heard XCOM Cold War, like everyone, I thought, oh, it's going to be set in the 60s, because why would you not? But no, again, 1983. It's very weird and very interesting.
That is very weird.
Yeah, so we'll see you back here for more. But until then, au revoir.